Live from Run Your Mouth World Headquarters.
First up, we break down how a winning coalition of racist black men and Latinos who hate Puerto Ricans helped Donald Trump win the election. In a first look at the administration's plan to remove fluoride from the water and cure the gays. And why Kamala Harris will have a peaceful transfer of power to a person she has called a literal fascist, marking the official end for women in this country. And how despite her inability to convince the country not to self-destruct and vote for the end of democracy, she still plans to laugh when out of office, and hopes to have more time now to focus on her true love, which is space and putting black men in jail. And lastly, an exclusive report on why pointing is a new form of violence.
It's your daily dose of misinformation, pulled from a lightly hemorrhoided asshole. It's today's Run Your Mouth!
To them unless you think it's true. Follow your heart and your dreams. Follow your heart and your dreams.
Buddy, welcome back to the Run Your Mouth podcast, and it is an honor to have you all with me. Post the election, Donald Trump pulled off the glorious victory. He is back in action, and it's nice to be doing a post-election stream with you guys. I would have gone live last night, but I got pretty sick up in New Hampshire. I don't know why, but maybe we all should have gotten vaccinated, because every time you go up there, you get the newest batch of AIDS. You know, they spit it right up into your mouth, and then you come home with a nice cold. And, I was coughing a little bit too much. Usually, even if I get sick, I'm just like a little sick, and I'll still do like workouts in the house, and I'm still got a pretty good amount of energy, but I just got like a running nose. And very rarely do I get like a serious, like back of the throat cough going on. But whatever. Listen, I wasn't even going to bring this up because I was like, I've been fine all day. And then started coughing a little bit again. No one wants to hear about my Jewy cough. Let's get into an episode. We just had an election take place. We had a guy survive 2 assassination attempts, 5 court cases, and come back to be president once again. And will he actually build us this wall in round 2? Is he going to do it? Are we finally going to get a wall? Is he going to actually protect all of our bitcoins? Is he going to reignite the Keystone Pipeline? Is he going to smooth the tensions between the Ukrainians and the Russians? Is he going to give even more bombs to Israel so that they can kill more Gaza civilians than ever before? Is he going to get out there and he's going to go, listen, I'm not going to be threatened, so you know what? I'll show you the Russian P-tapes myself. Is he going to go after the deep state? Is he finally going to turn around and go, we're going to find out who shot me? Not doing any impressions today. My voice is too fucked up. But anyways, this is exciting times. He did what nobody thought he could do, and he came back and he ran. He won round 2. This I get round 3, and if we're gonna be honest, he might have won round 2 once again. If there's one thing I've learned from this election, it's that apparently corpses will only vote for other corpses, and so somehow they magically had 80 million voters in the last go-around, and I guess there wasn't as much support amongst the corpses to get from 60 to 80. I guess somehow they could only pull off that stunt once, and people were a little bit too aware of it this time, or maybe it actually wasn't a stunt last time, and Joe Biden just had more support than anyone in the entire history of elections. People were so excited for the old man from the basement. People were like, I hope one day he'll sniff my kids. I hope one day that guy becomes the longest serving president, and that I have the honor of bringing my kid dressed as a turkey to the Oval Office, that old man will sniff it. Anyways, we've got Donald Trump. The guy actually pulled it off. He actually won, and I see our commentist section is booming. There's never been more enthusiasm for the Run Your Mouth program in the history of us broadcasting. After all the predictions we got right, which goes all the way back to when I had Professor Collum on at the top of the year, and he asked me what I thought was going to happen this election season, and I said I bet Donald Trump already cut the necessary deals, and that guy's going to get himself right back into office. Now, where I was wrong on cutting deals was usually when you cut deals, they don't try and shoot at you. So maybe I had the timetable wrong about when the deals were cut. And hopefully Professor Collum will write another one of those epic end-of-year things, and we'll have him back on the show. But anyways, here's what I'm hoping is going to happen for this country coming up in 2024. Is I'm hoping that we're actually at the end of the temper tantrum. Because here's what happened. This is my summary of what's happened thus far with Donald Trump. Politics is in chaos. Donald Trump comes out. He goes, I'm the common man. I know how to win. I'll win on your behalf. He's got a loud, foul mouth, and he stands up there on the debate stage, and he starts picking off every single one of these Republicans just with foul mouth and filthy jokes, and people are standing there going, hey, this guy's a little bit more fun. And he's talking about how the whole game is dirty, how no one's going to work for you, and how he's the one person who can get up there and win, and he can fight the corruption, he can drain the swamp, he's going to build the walls. And it's an exciting tale when people get behind him. He takes the Republican National Convention and manages to defeat Hillary Clinton, which everyone's like, how could anyone defeat Hillary Clinton? Because she was like about as likable as Kamala Harris was. And then he gets into office and they create this Russia collusion storyline. They go after him the hardest anyone's ever gone after a president. And for 3 whole years or 2 whole years, we're hearing about Russia collusion. And then for the next year, we just have temper tantrum after temper tantrum of everybody on the left pretending like he's the worst thing that's ever happened in all of politics, and when it's what I just call the more dignified racist theory of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, the more dignified rapist. That's what they like. They all understand that the politicians are evil. They understand that the guy in the Oval Office is doing bad things, but they just like him to be a little bit nicer about it. Sure, it's not good that Obama drones kids, but he doesn't tell us about it, and he's nice. People like to live in their matrixy illusion. They don't want to take the pill and have the steak taste like sawdust. And so they don't like Donald Trump being up there with his nasty, evil mouth. They prefer someone that's going to lie to them and buy them flowers after the raping. That's what they prefer, a dignified rapist. And Donald Trump came along, and he wasn't a dignified, and they're like, no, but we need the guy to pretend like he's super noble. It's the nobility of the presidency. Even if they're going to bomb little kids and do terrible things, I need him to pretend like he's a nice man. And so there was a temper tantrum. And so people promised us, as long as we got rid of Donald Trump, you wouldn't have to listen to this temper tantrum anymore. You also had the whole COVID thing and that the country was falling apart. And so sometimes when things look like they're falling apart, it's easy to kick out the current guy and hold him accountable and have the corpses show up and vote. It's easier to pull off corpses writing in mail-in ballots when everyone ballots when everyone's got to be at home. And I'm not saying they rigged the last election. I'm just saying we need someone to, for all the data and analytics that they seem to have on every single stat from every single election. Well, if you look in this county and the way that the people who wear hats voted in the last election compared to the way people who like to wear hats are voting in this election. And then if we move over to this county and we see the way that these people don't even normally wear hats, but the way that they were voting, and we compare that to the county over, they seem to have stats and analytics and data on everything. But nobody seems to have this explanation for the freak occurrence in the last election for how 20 million more voters showed up than usual. But anyways, let's continue. So we had 2 things that made Joe Biden attractive. It was an appeal for, hey, we're going to go back to normal. This thing's been a freak show. Donald Trump was not responsible for the freak show. It was all the reaction to Donald Trump. It was the temper tantrum. And so they gave into the temper tantrum and they're like, I don't like what's going on. I don't like that everyone's so invested in politics. I don't like that everyone's screaming and yelling all the time. We just got to get rid of the screaming and yelling all the time. And that's why they finally got Donald Trump out of office. And then you know what we had? We had Joe Biden. And my God, was it the biggest freak show we've ever had. I mean, for all the talk about the dignity of the office and the way that we look to other countries, we had a bumbling fool shitting his pants in front of the Pope, falling downstairs, mumbling, can't read teleprompters, them telling us, no, if you see your prices going up, you're crazy. If you think things are more expensive than they were, you don't understand how stores work. You apparently don't understand how your own money works if you think things are the best they've ever been. I don't know why you think, oh, problems at the border, emergency at the border, chaos at the border. No one's coming in over the border. More crime from you guys don't even know how to watch the news properly. No, we're the safest we've ever been. Are there 2 wars going on that weren't going on under the last presidency? One including a guy that has the biggest nuclear arsenal. You guys don't understand how to follow foreign policy if you think we're in a more dangerous situation than we were in before. You think your dollar is not going as far and you don't have as much economic opportunity? It's because you and your friends are idiots and don't understand the way that our economy works, because when you actually can't afford to buy as much with the same amount of money and work in the same amount of hours, that's the sign of the growth that we're having. And so people watched what happened with Joe Biden and then him finally having to be recalled after them going, hey, these are cheap fakes, and them having to recall him. And everyone's like, man, this Democratic Party is a freak show. And what do? To try and rally it, they throw Kamala Harris in front of us and tell us the only reason that you wouldn't like her is because you're a racist bigot. And you might even be confused about what race you're bigoted against, because what race is she? Was she Indian? Was she black? I still don't know. But the point being, after all this, after the telling us that it would be the end of the democracy, that Donald Trump will be a dictator from day one, women will, I don't know, go back to having to have more abortions in back alleys. It's going to be the end of life for women. I think after crying wolf this aggressively for as long as they've had, at this point, people are going to realize you're just having a temper tantrum. And that me placating your temper tantrum and pretending like Donald Trump is the problem, and not all of your nonsense of screaming, yelling, and pretending like it's the end of the world is the problem. I think the fact that more people are going to realize that the temper tantrum is the issue, that it wasn't Donald Trump. Donald Trump was just being Donald Trump, and the reaction was insane. I think people are more going to actually point this time at the media and your stupid liberal friends who are having freakouts on Twitter. I remember I worked in an office, and they pretended like it was I laughed it. I laughed in the face of my coworkers when we had the morning huddle, and they reacted like someone had died, and I laughed in their face, and I was told that I had to leave the huddle. And luckily, I'm enough of a loudmouth that I started giving them a bit of a hard time. But that was the landscape that we lived in. And I think at this point, people are going to acknowledge that no, that is mental illness. And we will see as to how it plays out. Because if I had to guess, Donald Trump, at the end of the day, he's in this game for Donald Trump. I think he sits down with people, he cuts the necessary deals, and we'll see. We'll see how things play out. Will the Russia situation actually de-escalate? That one I will bet. I will put 70% chance. I do think that one de-escalates because nobody's winning over there. Keystone Pipeline's already been blown up. So I don't think that one's going to go on forever. Are we going to see a positive energy transformation in this country of actual drill, baby, drill, and starting to be more, start tapping into our natural gas, maybe get the Keystone Pipeline going again, maybe just make it a favorable regulatory environment for businesses and for energy production, that we see more data AI centers opening up and that we kind of go into the next 100 years in strength? Or do we already signal to too many companies that every 4 years you might get a bunch of leftist idiots in here that totally undo the regulations or the safeguards that would allow you to conduct business? And so you don't want to invest in the U.S. because you don't have the protections of that it might change on you in 4 years. I don't know. What's going to happen with interest rates? Is Donald Trump going to poke at the Fed to lower shit and inflate even more bubbles? Will he actually get us a wall built? Might they take a look at what they can do to actually reduce the deficit? Will the 4D chess of tariffs, will he actually stand up to other countries and say, I'm going to tariff the shit out of you and get more favorable trade agreements? Or is he going to start Smoot-Hawley type log rolling situations? I think I might have actually gotten those terms right. For a tick for tack, and everyone's tacking on more tariffs, and then everything just gets more expensive. Before we break down all the crazy things that I've just said and what I'm hoping for Donald Trump's first 100 days in office, why not plug one of our sponsors for you for today? YoKratom.com, home of the $60 kilo, and the only place in the entire world you get an entire kilo of Kratom for just $60. All right, let's take a couple of comments, and then we will get into what I hope to see in the first 100 days of Donald Trump being in office. Wild amount of comments coming in. Yoshi Noko. When Trump started doing new dance moves at his rallies, I knew it was a lock. You know, hopefully Donald Trump does more live dance parties where he just gets up there, he plays some music, and I could work on it. And he started doing the golf butt. I could get into that. The Donald Trump dance parties. They're a little bit more wholesome than what we saw of like when they filmed that creepy shit on, what was it, Christmas? The Donald Trump Christmas dance party, where it's like an old school 1950s style slow dance. The shit you would see in a Leave It to Beaver or something. Anarcha Rica, who doesn't love shrinkflation? Tim Johnson, the media is still saying Trump voters don't understand anything. You'd think they look in the mirror at some point, but they completely lack self-awareness. It's them that don't understand. Give me a sec. I think we're going to see a change. I think the media, they're going to kick and scream for maybe 2 more weeks, but I was already watching them at CNN, having to comprehend with the truth and with reality a little bit. And we're going to play some of those moments. I know everyone's seen it at this point, but when Jake Tapper had to confront reality that there wasn't a single county, or was it a single category of voters that Kamala Harris did better with than Joe Biden did, and which is really remarkable if you consider how much of a corpse of a candidate Joe Biden was, that they kept him in the basement. He didn't campaign. His one pitch was, hey, I'm such an old man, I can bring back the stability of the experience. Do you guys remember when this was calm and not a freak show? Well, that's what I can bring you, and he didn't. But, all right. Jonathan Greenlee, who, by the way, if you have not checked out my special, it was filmed from Jonathan Greenlee's I Called It a Garage. He'd like to claim it was more of a workshop. Listen, we don't have to have these kind of arguments in front of the fans. If you haven't watched already, please go check it out. It's on my channel, live from the Denver Comedy Garage, not an actual place, and it was thanks to Jonathan and his wife's sweet hospitality. And here's Jonathan saying, saw the 15 million votes thing and thought I should check how many died from COVID in 2020. CDC, NIH updated the records in 2022, say it was 350K. So that doesn't match. Still a question. Fair point. All right, let's take 2 more comments. Rob, what's your current exercise regime? Eating donuts and getting fat. Not really. I try and sauna and swim like 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm back to very light deadlifting and squats. At the moment, thanks to some injuries that I had last year, I'm not quite where I was, but I'm hoping pretty soon to be back to a lot of pull-ups, a lot of push-ups. Hopefully back to being on the bike, getting some running in. I'm not going full fat. I'm not there yet. I got a pretty good base of physical fitness. I like doing the prison exercises while I read. You know, that's basically what I like to do. But at the moment, I'm mostly just eating donuts and getting fat. Hippie special was absolute. Thank you. Jess Man. So Ron Paul isn't coming out of retirement. I can't speak to that. All right, let's get into what I am hoping to see from Trump's first 100 days. And the first thing I think Trump should do is he should bomb all the windmills, and he should steal Kamala Harris's slogan of "We're not going back." He should actually, the way I see it in my head is the first round is like the old F-2 bomb, like the old school bombers, like the things you might have seen in the first Top Gun movie, which I never even saw. And maybe you get the Blue Devils or whoever can make like a real showmanship show out of it. And then behind it, you get the planes that have the streamers. And so first you get the planes that come through and they drop the bombs and you see them explode. And then right behind it overhead, you see the slow propeller planes with the sign that says, "We're not going back." And we go the other way on what I was saying was the problem with the changing regulatory landscapes that, you know, if they step in for 4 years and say, hey, we're going all with the green energy, and then people try and front run the market and you spook everyone out for making these long-term infrastructure things because they think, oh, listen, you know, the Bidens and the people are going to come back in with their green energy bullshit. I'm not going to be able to make any money off of my line here for shipping the oil. So let's go the other way and let's blow up these stupid windmills so that when the next administration comes in, they go, we're not going to build the windmills. The next administration is just going to blow them up. And they're shitty to look at. They're killing the whales. Does nobody care about the whales? The whales are just in the ocean. They're going fucking crazy because these things are humming. Not to mention, they're electrifying fishes. Have you guys heard about that? They're frying fishes. You're just swimming along trying to have a nice old day and you get electrified because of the currents that are coming from these windmills in the ocean. They're not actually producing enough electricity. They're wasting our money. So you know what? Let's just put an end to it right now. Let's take Kamala Harris's slogan and let the world know we're not going back. Burn, baby, burn. Natural gas. Beat Russia at its own game. And let's get an energy boom going into the next run, because you know what? We're going to need better data AI centers to overwhelm the Chinese data AI centers, because we're going into the era of robots and we're going to need our robots to be better than their robots. All right, here's the next one. Might be just as important. I say we have Donald Trump. We all know Donald Trump doesn't eat all that healthy. Donald Trump could get into this one. This is a simple one. But Donald Trump should have an unpasteurized milk and cookie party with Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie can bring the milk. Someone else can provide the cookies. And the other attendees of these parties should be Ross Ulbricht, Julian Assange, and Edward Snowden. And we channel to the deep state. Listen, we're getting the information out there now. All right? The old enemies of the deep state, the people that, even the old CIA director that Trump was working with. Can someone help me with this name here? Can someone help me with this name? I'm going to continue just talking and pointing, but I'm pointing at you people that someone should throw this name into the chat right now. But anyways, he should pardon all of them. He should still make a scene out of what the Biden administration did to Julian Assange. He should still give a hard time to the press for not getting the backs of these people as the government went after them. He should do what he can to protect the freedom of journalism, and he should release all these people and to celebrate their freedom and the fact that they were done dirty by the deep state and other journalism outlets. They didn't further get their back, which, by the way, getting people's backs, like when they got all pissed off about the Casa-Hoagie thing, everyone gives it's the worst thing that ever happened. It was terrible what happened. But where are the endless stories about these other individuals? They don't exist. And so Donald Trump should celebrate their freedom by firstly tasting unpasteurized milk, which Thomas Massie swears by. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know if that might be the thing that would fix my stomach. I'd be willing to try it, particularly if Thomas Massie invited me. I'd like to have a beer with Thomas Massie, but if instead of that, it was a hang out with your hero, drink unpasteurized milk, and see whether or not you vomit and shit yourself in front of your hero, I'll play that game instead. That sounds like a funner version of Russian roulette. Pompeo. Thank you, Jake. I was really rattling off nonsense until someone would come up with the name I was looking for. It took a little bit too long, but Pompeo, that was the name I was looking for. All right. First thing I'd like for Trump to do is let's blow up the windmills, and then let's have a milk and cookie party with the good unpasteurized milk that government's been trying to remove, that apparently Thomas Massie says will cure all of our stomachs. And let's have that milk and cookie party with the enemies of the deep state who have all done nothing wrong, to let the deep state know that we are now celebrating these individuals and that they're unnoticed. Next, release all the January 6th political prisoners and start the door opening and shooting at me investigations. Let's start going after the deep state and let's look into what actually happened here. Let's bring Ray Epps in front of Congress and let's release all the January 6th footage. I don't know if you guys remember this, because this was a particular creepy storyline amongst what went on with the January 6th storyline. But remember the shaman? Kept the shaman guy in jail for 2 years until Tucker Carlson showed us the footage of him just being escorted around the venue, of him afterwards going, hey guys, our leader Donald Trump told us that we need to go home and we need to be peaceful. And then if we had never seen that footage, that guy would still be in jail. But then they show us the footage and they go, oh no, we're releasing him from jail for other reasons. It has nothing to do with the footage that you just saw, and we can't see any of the rest of this footage. So you're telling me that there's an additional footage that might get innocent people out of jail, but you don't want us to see it so that you can just protect your narrative. And by the way, you're looking out for our best interest. So let's do all those things. Release all the January 6th political prisoners, bring Ray Epps in front of Congress for questioning, start an investigation into the FBI door opening units and who the hell was shooting at you. And then lastly, let's release all the footage of January 6th so that, the general public can see it, consume it, and see what was actually going on. All right, here's the next one. Hold on one second. I got to change my setup here so I can see this a little bit better. Next one is the FBI should not be abolished, but let's repurpose it for deporting foreign criminals who illegally crossed into America. That's fun. Let's actually get the numbers of how many dangerous individuals crossed into the country. So I'm not even talking about what I already described, I think, recently on a paywalled episode of Part of the Problem, that if I was Donald Trump, the way that I would deal with the illegal immigration problem is, firstly, I would build the wall. On both sides. I don't want Canadians coming down either. We're going to build the wall. Nobody new is getting in. And now, as for all the people that snuck in illegally, I'm going to give them a one-time opportunity for amnesty. But here's how they get that amnesty, is that they are going to have to become a registered second-class citizen where them and their children have no access to government benefits. They are not citizens, and they are not allowed to vote. And if they don't want to sign such agreement, then if they are found in this country without proper documentation that they're paying taxes for the work that they're doing here, they will be expelled from the country. Now, maybe at some later point in time, we can figure out some sort of a mechanism of which of these individuals we'd like to give full citizenship to. But at the end of the day, they crossed into our country illegally. And perhaps we will allow them to remain here with some sort of you want to call it a work visa or a signage away of your rights that your children are not anchor babies and they're not just automatically considered citizens. Maybe you can come up with some sort of a workaround that they have a specific work visa, but members of that work visa, their children are not considered to be U.S. citizens. I'm just saying it's a pretty practical solution of that you have to actually register and document yourself. You have to start paying taxes. You have to start having a license. You have to start having the proper insurance if you're going to be driving a car and getting into an accident. And if you don't want to register yourself and we actually find you're being deported. And if we find out that you're a criminal or a terrorist or otherwise. Okay, so the FBI, they're not going to be responsible for any of that. That's going to be an ICE thing. The ICE is going to take care of basically getting all this liability in our books if people are going to have kids and vote the other way and just steal from the country in terms of free goods and benefits. And this is all practical. And is it the most? It's the most humane option that I see of a compromise between, hey, we don't have to just evict all the people. We probably do need some better options for lower class labor. And the fact that people just violated and came into the country illegally shouldn't automatically make them or their kids citizens or give them the right to U.S. benefits. But that's not what the FBI is going to do. What the FBI is going to do is specifically be tasked with unrooting these Venezuelan gangs, rounding up, I want a number on every single criminal and terrorist that illegally crossed into the country over the Biden administration. And let's also put all the resources into getting rid of all the pedophilia in this country. And I don't know the numbers on pedophilia in this country, and I don't know the numbers of what takes place in terms of creepy things that are happening to kids. But this is a political winner because since I don't think there's great numbers on this right now, and I don't think that it's been a focus of the FBI, nor think about if all the people that went into rounding up the January 6 people were now tasked with rounding up pedophiles, or you literally just moved the FBI over to just doing that one thing. Well, now every stat of a pedophile that you round up is a stat for, hey, this is how I've cleaned up the country. This is how many kids I've saved. I feel like that could be a political winner for Donald Trump. And then here's the last one on my list. And then I think I should have Howie Dewie joining me shortly. Hold on. Last one on my list. RFK Jr. gets the fluoride out of the water and then goes on an expedition with Joe Rogan to find Bigfoot, which let's have some fun with this. Let's release the alien files. Let's, like I said, let's get, excuse me. Let's go after the deep state. Let's find out who was shooting at him. Let's find out what happened to Kennedy's, who assassinated the guy. Let's go after all these storylines. Release the Bigfoot files. Release the alien files. Release all the old CIA files, all the shit that they're hiding from us because they know that it will make them look bad. Let's put it all out there and let's clean the slate and let's educate the American public to the way that the deep state operates and that it's not in their best interest. And then let's actually get people to have more an appreciation for freedom and the fact that we should be limiting the powers of government, and we all shouldn't just be standing around pledging allegiance to, oh, well, the government told me I should get a shot. Oh, the government told me that this is healthy. The government told me if they spend all this money, it'll be better for me. The government said if all these people illegally come over the border and we don't know who they are, that would be better. Oh, the government said if we got to check to see if someone's actually a citizen, that would be racist and be bad for people. Let's actually get all this information out there so, it just becomes undeniable to everybody. And then you can actually, drain the swamp. All right. And that's, dude, I forgot. I'm over here, where's my guest? Where's Howie Dewie? Well, I want to get into stock market picks that were coming into Donald Trump round 2. And I forgot that I've got 40 clips from the last couple days. So let's take a couple comments and then we can get into some clips. But before we do, SheathUnderwear.com, the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. I travel this country. I'm on flights. I'm on backyards. I'm hauling my own gear. And let me tell you, my balls would be flopping all over the place if it wasn't for good old SheathUnderwear.com. So if you want to wear the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man, the official sponsor of the Run Your Mouth podcast, and the only one with the Robbie Fire stamp of approval, you got to go to SheathUnderwear.com, use promo code RYM, and you get yourself 20% off the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. And lucky for us, closing out this episode, we will have Bobby the Bank coming on, letting us know the latest and greatest from Sheath. All right, let's take some comments. Runaway Slob. Each day, I do the 911 at gym, 50 floors on a Stairmaster at any speed, no hands, before and after lifting, and torso calisthenics. If I don't have 60 minutes for gym, do 110 floors in 20 minutes with 80 libs of equipment. All right, well, that guy's working out. Anarcho Rico. Bigfoot is a transdimensional being. You will never find him. That could be. Way More Blues. Your comedy special was freaking great. Thank you, sir. And for anyone that hasn't watched it, it is still available for free on YouTube. Robbie the Fire, you're already on the channel. But if you're not, if you follow the podcast in other places, Robbie the Fire, all one word on YouTube, you should follow that channel. I put up a lot of comedy content over there. If you've already watched the special and you loved it, there's a lot of old comedy jokes that did not make it onto the special, a lot of which I like a lot. Anyways, Jonathan Greenlee. Mexican comics can get a special visa, but they have to do Carlos Mencia impressions for 25% of their SOW. All right, let's take 2 more and move on. Female Sheath, not so bad. I've heard good things about the female Sheaths. Send pics, robsnewsroom@gmail.com. Hippie, I'd be interested to hear how we talk Planeter for a minute. Apparently, Thiel is associated with J.D. Vance somehow. All right, well, when he comes on, we can get into that. All right, first up, let's watch Kamala Harris' concession speech. Here we go. Kamala Harris finally conceding the election.
So let me say...
Ooh, I can tell that's a pain in the ass, but you guys probably don't have sound on that. Give me a second. I can make this fix. I know how to do this. I've been through this enough times. Even when my producer messes up my settings, I know how to fix this. I'm the master of StreamYard and this studio space, and tech errors, optimum, failing internet, and producers messing up my settings will not distort the quality of this show. Here we go. Give me a second. Resetting. Back in a second. You guys are going to be so impressed with the sound that we have momentarily. You'll be like, how did this guy get so smooth at bringing us sound on the video clips that he's looking to share? Here we go. Let me know if this plays.
So let me say, and I love you back. And
I like how in the comments you guys are saying you could hear it, and it'll be really funny if with the changes I made now you can't.
love you back. So let me say, my heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for.
I got to pause there. The outcome of this election is not what we voted for. Well, what do you... Oh, okay, you know what? I thought that was the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but now I get what she's talking to her specific voters. It's not that the outcome is not what was voted on. It's us personally, when we got together and we voted, this isn't what we voted for. Not as dumb as I had originally thought it to be. She's speaking to her supporters. Okay.
But hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting. To my beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much. To President Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support. To Governor Walz and the Walz, that we will help him and his team with their transition. And
this was the part for a second I thought it was going to get juicy.
And that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when...
All right, let's take a break from it there and bring our guest on for today. It's an honor to have you. I haven't seen you in a while. What is going on, Mr. Howie Dewie?
What's up, brother?
It's been a while. You're looking good. You've been hitting the gym, man. You like somehow turned back the clock. I thought you were like 10 years from death, and now you look like a 40-year-old again.
Hey, sometimes you gotta just gotta back up the clock a little bit. Stop it, whatever.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm excited that Donald Trump has gotten back into the election. For all the people out there that don't know, Howie Dewey's longtime friend of the podcast. We used to do a show together out in the East Village, and he's got a show with Sam Tripoli, Cash Daddies, along with your subscriber feed where you take all your old Merrill Lynch tips and tell people to make wildly speculative gambles.
Yeah. We get crazy, man. We get crazy.
So the market's already excited for Donald Trump because they just know that the world's biggest dumbass in presidential election history, at least she's not going to be in there. And I don't get too excited all in all for the stock market just because I think it's too propped up by Fed money. This is something that you and I have discussed back and forth. But as a person who's a market professional, what's your outlook? Where do you think this bad boy's going now that Donald Trump's in for round two?
Well, all I say, Rolf, if you'd bought what I told you about a year ago, you'd be a millionaire, Robbie.
Is that true? What did I sleep on? Yeah,
well, pretty much the NASDAQ was at like 13,000 the last time we talked. Today closed around 19,000. So, we've had things that have just gone through the roof. I mean, things were up already, and today.
So you're saying we need more Joe Biden?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, when Biden was president, I mean, we hit all-time highs. Look, it doesn't matter who president. It doesn't matter. You could put, a stickhead in there. It doesn't matter who the president is. The market's going to go up. It's going to go down a little bit. Going to go up more. It's just what it is.
So what are some of the things you're looking at the moment, and what are some expectations with Trump? Like, I think the president makes some, like, if you think a president's really gonna get his balls deep into a war, that's going to affect some market expectations. If you think that they're going to be very favorable to a sector or not to it, shut down a different sector, that can certainly affect the market. If you think tariffs are actually going to be a thing, and you might be looking at trade wars. So the president certainly can have an impact. Historically, they might be slick enough to not intervene with business. I mean, the wars that we've had, they certainly happened. I just wasn't around for the world wars and what kind of because none of the wars since then, I guess, were, as big of a influence on the market, unless you were specifically, investing in Raytheons or
General Dynamics, those types of companies crank. But more importantly, I don't know if you know the statistic, but if you look at back 100 years when Army and Navy, when the football teams have their best years, that usually means we're going to war. It's just a thing, man. I mean, look into it.
People just get excited for, hey, we can handle this.
When Army's undefeated this year in football, they got a chance to go to the playoffs. Navy's got one loss. We're going to war. We're fighting someone.
Because it's just that is that some sort of a psyop where they actually put together good football teams that people get excited for Army and Navy?
I think it could be. I really think it could be.
Oh, that's a wild conspiracy. What other wild conspiracies are you not sharing with us?
Look, man, you can tell I've been hanging with Tripoli too long. He's got me all revved up. But I told him that the other day. I told him that, and he went, whoa, wow. I got to look into that.
Who do you think we're going to war with? Do you think we're going to wind down Russia so we can go to war with Iran? What's your war prediction?
I mean, of course, it's always a Middle East country. I mean, we're never going to go to war with China because China doesn't go to war. When's the last time China's been in a war? They don't go to war. So plus, we can't go to war with China because our Home Depot, Walmart, they'd go bankrupt. I mean, where are they going to get their products from? So. But that brings me to the tariff thing. I think today, if you look, Trump won. So what sectors were up? Financials were through the roof. Financials, industrials, healthcare. Why are financials up? Because, less regulation. That's why. I mean, you're not going to regulate any banks. They're going to go through the roof. You're not going to regulate energy. It's going to go up. And, man, they were up big today. Huge.
Let's talk energy because, like I said, I'm not that interested. I wouldn't say I'm not interested in investing. Just buying like the S&P or sectors doesn't really interest me. I think particular storylines of growth industries can excite me if I don't think all the anticipation has already outpaced the potential growth. Like, so for example, looking at NVIDIA or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah.
I think I don't think it will ever actually do as well as the markets already anticipate it will do. But where I do see a big play is in the energy production for the data and AI centers. And that I think over the last 4 years, we were not in a favorable environment for energy production. I think the small modular nuclear reactors have become a lot more favorable. And I'm looking at some of the giant tech companies trying to figure out how they can buy old nuclear facilities and potentially bring them up to speed. But I think there seems to be a lot. Firstly, the country needs more energy. That's not going away. If the big data centers weren't going to be a thing in the future, I could still forecast that there'd be an increased demand for energy. But it seems like we're jumping to a new level of energy demand, and it's specifically for these large data structures, which will probably be just to police you and I and have the robots look over us. But
data centers are the biggest. That's the biggest real estate investment trust sector going right now. I mean, they're building them everywhere. North Carolina, that's all there is.
How do I make the money on that? You got to anticipate where the favorable energy markets are going to be and buy the real estate. Like it's almost like a regulation game of.
You buy the real estate investment trusts, the data centers. You have different types of REITs. You have like.
But now I've heard my wise friend Howie Dewie say that there's nothing that's a bigger scam than other people selling you real estate.
Well. Yeah, some of the things you've told me, that was interesting. You had like Joe Ponzi selling you,
Joe Ponzi
fish. You had Joe Ponzi selling you fish ponds down in Alabama. Like, how are you gonna? Robbie's like, how are you gonna pay me? Don't worry about it. Look, we have it's not food stamps, but it's a type of stamp you can take and you can trade it in. Like that story you told me was kind of wild, man.
I don't even remember this one.
But you can buy real estate REITs on the public market, on the New York Stock Exchange. You buy REITs. They're usually high dividend, high yielding paying stocks, storage facilities, hospitals, shopping malls. But the new one is data centers. It's real estate investment trusts, and they're growing like crazy. There's tons of different REITs that you can buy them on. As far as the energy situation, I'm not that familiar about what, besides electricity. I mean, I don't know how close we are from nuclear energy running these data centers. I mean, if that was the case, buy uranium stocks. They took a beating in the last couple of weeks.
But they're up overall for like the last 3 years, and I know that because I own them.
Yeah, a little bit, but they took last month. I don't know why they took it, but they just sold off. It happens. But the big one, I mean, this is one. I have a 2024 portfolio on our Cash Daddy's Patreon, and we've beaten the S&P 3 years in a row. This will be the fourth because we're crushing it. November 1st, made a big move, sold some things, and we all got into OYH. OYH is the Van Eck Oil Services ETF. Has 10 big oil companies in it, and it had been beaten up. It was down to 275. It finished at 304 today. So huge
Hey,
gains.
how now that Trump came in, how is my Van Inc. Russia going to do? Because it was delisted from the markets, and I bet on Putin at the start of the Russia-Ukraine war, and I still feel like that was the right bet until my trade was delisted. But how do you expect that Trump coming into office? Will my shares get relisted, and I might see some profits from my oil trades?
Yeah, I think there was one Russian ETF, and you had to look and because it's Russia. First of all, you got to say okay.
No, I bought it. The Van Inc. Russia ETF.
But within the ETF, you got to look and say, all right, let's see, what do they make here? Oh, they got a little natural gas. Hey, look, they make hay. They make windmills. I mean, Russia doesn't really produce a whole hell of a lot.
Right.
I mean, it's become like a third world country, and this Ukrainian shit set them back 20 years, man.
All right, so we've the Van Inc. Which one is it?
The Russian one?
No, that one was trash.
Oh, OIH, Van Eck Oil.
Okay, and by the way, this is not investment advice. This is purely two moronic comics giving you their late night drunken, spew of things that you could think about. Give us some other ones.
Hey, I'll tell you what, we had a huge day today in the market. I mean, nobody saw the Dow going up 1,500, NASDAQ was up 500. So what do we do at the end of the day? We shorted everything, man. We bought puts on stuff. Tesla, Elon, the Don pumped Elon's Tesla up from like 240 to 288. We bought TSLQ, which is short Tesla. In other words, we hope Tesla tanks tomorrow, which I think it probably will. It'll drop 10 points.
What kind of VIX play are you playing right now?
UVIX. We sold it last week.
Okay.
6, and bought it today at 398.
There you go.
If it goes to 455, we'll be out of it. It's all about banking fatties. You got to take profits. Make sure you always have cash on hand. But hey, Robbie, it's been a good 3-4 years.
Do you say, is the term banking fatties? Is that what you said?
Yeah, banking fatties, not banging fatties, which that usually happens on weekends after a week of banking fatties. We go from banking fatties to banging fatties.
You see, I in my head, I took banking fatties as taking profits, that if you could bank the fatty and just sleep with her that night, you got to take the profits and bank it. Like then it's been done.
We're just banging and banking. That's what we do, baby. That's what we do.
All right, give me two more. Give me two more.
We bought SPY puts today, SPY, which is the S&P 500. Actually the SPY is 100, but we bought puts. So at the end of the day, let's see, the SPY today, which is the S&P index, it finished at 591. So we bought puts on it, and we bought short term out to Friday. Very risky. But if this thing drops 3-4 points tomorrow, which it probably 14 today, we're out with a 40-50% gain. Bam. So
all right, and then any other what ends up happening? Does Donald Trump? You think he brings back the Keystone Pipeline? Like, what do you think the tariff? Like, what do you just overall expect kind of for the next 4 years from Donald Trump? Is it?
Well, there's no doubt he's going to drop these tariffs on China. 60%? No. I mean, maybe 10, maybe 15. But, he's going to. He doesn't need Congress's approval for that. And I'm one kind of like along your lines. You're probably not a tariff guy because I don't like the government getting involved with with trade and shit. I just don't. He starts dropping tariffs. That's going to raise prices on everything. I don't want it. Just stay out of it. China's economy is in rough shape. It's going to take them 5 years to rebound. We're actually doing fairly well compared to everybody. But I don't like the tariff situation. I don't want him to do that. He's going to, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think most economists would agree.
And what do you expect? Do you have any concerns over, especially if the United States gets more aggressive with tariffs, that BRICS might make some headway and that we might see some more movements away from the dollar, or just, everyone's stuck with the dollar, nothing's changing?
I'm of plan B. I'm with your plan B, Robbie. I think we're stuck with the dollar. Look, the scariest thing right now is the dollar's too strong. What was it? It was 106, 107 2 weeks ago. It's down to 103. But you don't want a really, really strong dollar, because then you can't export anything. Nobody's going to buy it. It's a problem. You want that buck right around 98, 99, maybe $1. So it's just competitive. And yeah, I don't like that. As far as BRICS goes, I don't have a lot of faith in that situation, man. I mean, when you got Brazil and Russia, who basically are fourth world countries right now. I mean, South Africa, like, are you kidding me? China, I mean, okay, give them props. We can't live without China. China's you can say what you want. China's probably our most important ally in the world, because try ordering a refrigerator or an oven or anything without China. You're screwed. So if they're screwed without us, if what are they going to do with all their products that, when they got little Fing Wong, who's 8 years old and he does 8 hours of school and he's got to go make some parts for a refrigerator, that poor kid's out of work. So we got to have China to ship that stuff to Walmart, Home Depot, Kohl's, Lowe's,
Any bold predictions for who from the financial sector Donald Trump actually staffs in some of these positions?
I mean, Elon Musk, just look at Tesla today. He's got Musk doing something. Musk's been kissing that ass for a reason. I mean, Trump was never a big EV guy. And if you saw what EV stocks did today, everything went up but EVs. They tanked. Except for Tesla. Tesla was the only EV stock that did well. So read between the lines. I'm sure Elon's going to have something, kind of like Kennedy's going to go in and change the whole healthcare. It's hilarious, but I mean, as long as he does it without talking, I got no problem. That dude just needs to learn sign language. We would like him a lot better if that dude just didn't talk. I actually worked out next to that guy at the gym down at Chelsea Piers.
He's shredded, right?
Oh, I mean, he's a midget, but
how tall is he?
I don't know, man. I think he maybe 5'8".
That's so funny. I knew you were going to say 2 inches taller than me.
No, I think you're bigger than him, honestly.
There's no, I'm like 5'6". So what do you think? He's like 5'2" or 5'4"?
It's just, I remember really short, but you're not kidding. No, he's a strong little bastard, man. He had 4 plates up on the bench, man. He was,
there you go.
Yeah, he's
I need a squat. Can you help me, Howie?
Dude, I can't. I mean, I listen to him and it makes you want to just punch and kick a small kid. When he talks, it's okay. We know what you want. We're going to do it. Just hold your breath. You imagine his wife? How does she deal with that shit? I mean, she's got to be deaf.
I love you're like, listen, you can change the entire nutrition of this country and get rid of the vaccines, but can you just write it out for me so I don't have to hear you tell me it?
Do whatever you want. We'll do anything. Just, don't breathe.
All right. Love it. Howie, what do you got to plug before I switch over to
my
man,
guest? Look, we got a podcast, myself, Sam Tripoli. I almost called him Tom Tripoli. Sam Tripoli. It's called Cash Daddies. I got a podcast I've had going now for like 4 months. It's cranking. It's called The Degenerate Gamblers. You can see it on Howie Dewie on YouTube. Follow it. If you're into any type of, betting, football, basketball, hockey, women's jello wrestling, everything, we got it. We have odds for it. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
All right.
The Degenerate Gamblers, baby.
Pleasure. Let's hang out in the city soon, my friend.
Absolutely, brother.
All right, later, Mr. Howie.
Peace.
And now we switch it over to the final guest of the evening, fresh off the election, Bobby the Bank. Are you excited for Trump round 2? Is this good for Sheath Universe? Was Kamala Harris bringing too much regulation to the underwear landscape?
I don't think I don't think it can get any worse. I feel like it's going to get better, hopefully. I like the optimism. I heard the stock market went up like 1.2 trillion today, which I don't know how true that is. My friends, I got one of text group and they're all like super excited. I have my reservations. I never voted for Trump, but I've always been like kind of a fan. I wanted to be on The Apprentice. I think he's a baller. I think he's cool. But the like the China issue where he's always kind of like bad mouthing China. I don't really like that.
That's when you got to get your old SEAL team together and go over to China and actually steal your own crates back. I know the way Sheath operates. I remember what happened during COVID.
Well, it was called Operation Underwater SEAL Team Sheath, and there was like what is that? A bottleneck of all the cargo ships.
You had to get your Iraq vets friends together so you could steal back your own stuff from the port.
Yeah, you remember. I told you about it. It's been long enough. I think we're past the.
I'm still waiting for when that movie comes out, and I'm hoping that you're played by, by that time it'll be a wheelchair Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I feel like that'll be a better representation of your character, so it'll make sense.
I think what was he like? Rambo Commando. Yeah, back in the day, they could do like an AI generated version of him when he was young, like to make him look more like me. Real, you want it to be realistic.
I think it all makes sense. So can we talk about the spiritual journey you went on and trying to talk with the machine elves to better understand the needs of people in their undergarments?
I wanted to get a better understanding of myself. So I don't, if most people probably know like Joe Rogan and watch him, obviously. There was a guy named Sean Harris or Sean Ryan, and he's an ex like SEAL guy, and he went on there and was talking about the benefits of Ibogaine. And Ibogaine is this psychedelic drug, but it's not like mushrooms or acid or.
So it's not. Is it like
ecstasy.
ayahuasca or toad venom, or we're talking about something totally different?
No, it's something totally different.
What does it come from? Like, what's the origin of Ibogaine?
Ibogaine it's an African plant root type thing, and I don't know who was testing this out or found any benefits from it, but a lot of people are saying that my energy is different and I'm like they're liking this, and I feel less anxiety. Okay, it's now been about 3 weeks since I took my last dose. I did 2 trips while I was in Mexico, and I was going there to kind of like sleep better, get over my anxiety, and just be an overall like reborn, have like this soul cleansing experience. But it was more like a soul nightmarish experience, and I just want to like tell people the truth about it, because when you hear it on Rogan and he's kind of like glamorizing it, and I love my boy JRE, but whatever. He doesn't know. He didn't do it. This guy comes onto a show and tells everybody like how much better he was after having this experience, but they don't tell you how bad the experience was. He was saying how he was seeing these visions passing by, like as in this dream state, and that was actually somewhat true. Mine was more like these Marvel comic flashes. You know how like in at the beginning of a new Marvel movie, it's like these little comic strip images. That's what I was experiencing, but they were your worst anxieties, thoughts, insecurities, things you did wrong.
But it's
when
like
you were
comic
young.
book panels just coming past you.
But they won't stop. And another thing they don't tell you is it's like 2 days. It's not like 6 hours or 8 hours. It lasts for days. and then you have to do it twice. I was there for 8 days in
This is a commitment. You know when the last time I took 8 days for vacation was?
It wasn't a vacation, but it was a commitment. I was really trying to just be my best self and go have this experience
What happens if you quit out in the middle? Now you're stuck in the trip for the rest of your life? It's one of those things, like not finishing Jumanji.
No, I was actually, after the first one, you have to wait 4 days and you do it again. So I was, after the first one, I was like, I'm not doing it again.
That sounds terrible.
It was terrible. And I was like, that was so horrible. There's no fucking way in hell I'm doing that again. But I paid for the 8 days and the 2 trips. And after,
so the Jew in you was like, oh, if I paid for 2, I'm not just doing 1.
Yeah. And by this time, like 4 days after, because like I took it on day 2, and then by like day 5, I'm like, you know what? I feel pretty good. I guess I'll do it. I don't know. It was crazy. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll do it again.
What was the claim? What was the pitch of why you have to do it twice, other than them upselling you of, no, you can't just do this once?
I think you could do it once if you took a higher dose, maybe. I think they're trying to like make it as just easy to process as possible. It's already really hard. And I feel I asked the same question. Why the fuck do I need to do it twice? Once is bad enough. I hear him on Rogan. He didn't say anything about doing it twice.
I gotta say, of the different hallucinogens, this has the worst pitch of any I've ever heard. So like, at least with DMT, it's short. You seem to have a totally out of body experience, which is actually almost like, I've never done it, but from what people describe, it's like sensory overload where it's incredibly visually intriguing. And then people seem to walk away with one of a couple experiences of seeing the machine elves, seeing them reborn, seeing the whole universe, but like visually incredible. And then, I don't know, maybe they walk away with some sort of a higher thought of themselves or the universe or not. Or
for DMT, what I got from it was that we can't, like, consciousness can't exist outside of the body, because I left my body. I went through the wormhole, ended up on the other side, saw what weren't machine elves, but were jesters. And the jesters were having tea in a glass house, and they were having like this conversation, and they like see me, one of them pop out of a wall, and he goes, shh. And from that, I intuited that he said, basically without words, it was like, this does exist. We're here. We have everything under control. You don't need to be here. You need to go back to your dimension and kick ass over there. Like, and don't come back, essentially. And I haven't been back because it was real. It was, and so the consciousness existing outside of the body made me think, like, when we die, the consciousness would live on, ergo we don't need to worry about death, which is pretty powerful for DMT, right?
Okay, but you would say, at least then the DMT pitch is, I walked away with something that was tangibly beneficial, it was short, and it was a wild experience that I happened on this other dimension. Or what I've heard of, like, the toad venom is that it's pretty horrible, but you're purging your body of trauma. At least I understand the sales pitch of this. The Ibogaine doesn't sound like you got much of a pitch here.
Let me tell you this. It was so bad that it makes real life much more...
Well, that I was the one that was telling you that I once had a bad trip with mushrooms. And I was like, I felt like it wasn't that bad because afterwards, daily anxiety, it's like I'd already done a workout for it. And so I wasn't as bothered by it. And so that was the benefit of heavier or bad trips, was that, like, all of a sudden daily life emotions or anxiety are kind of dialed down because you're not dealing with the more extreme or heavier version of it.
I will say this, though, also, and is that all those bad thoughts, all the anxieties, like, I remember I smoked my first cigarette. I had stole this pack of cigarettes, and I sold my first. Anyways, I think it processed, is my point. And so here's a positive. Whenever you think something bad, people out there, whatever, so I would have this, like, heart pain when I think of like, oh, you fucking idiot, or like that really annoys me, or whatever.
I think Robert might have frozen up on us here. Let's give him a second, see if he clicks back in, or maybe I'm the frozen one and I'm just over talking him. I don't see anything in the comments at the moment, so I don't know who froze here. Is it me? Is it Robert? Let's give it a second. Oh, so am I not frozen? Robert froze. All right, let's hopefully he'll realize that he froze. He'll go and he come back. Thank you for letting me know. Let's take a couple comments from people in the chat, and then I had a bunch of clips from the election coverage I wanted to play. So maybe let me text Robert that he's got to reset. And in the meantime, give me 1 second, everybody. Not going to waste too much time on this because I don't want to have to edit it later. Oh, he's already back.
That was my internet, I guess. Weird.
It happens. No big deal. So you were saying that you used to experience a physical pit in your stomach sensation when you had anxiety, and now you can more just observe that you're feeling anxious and it's not as overwhelming.
Yeah, you just have the thought and it doesn't have a physical pain associated with it. So I think it was like processing trauma or whatever, you know.
I think you're just trying to justify going down to Mexico and spending 8 days on a bad trip. So let's pivot.
It was so
So what do we got coming up? I know we got big sheath sales for Thanksgiving. I know I get excited for the winter wear. The long johns are a personal favorite of mine if you're doing anything out in the cold. I mean, it couldn't be more comfortable for skiing, biking, or any winter sport. As an undergarment, what else do we got coming out? What are the big sales? What can people look forward to?
Thank you so much for allowing me to promote Sheath. I don't know if you guys know this, but I did invent.
He was right there, ready to tell us about the latest and greatest. All right, he'll be back soon enough. Let's play a couple clips and we'll call it an episode.
God.
Oh, Robert's back. Robert, give us the pitch.
Fucking psycho.
No, you're here.
Okay. You got to, sheath.com. We are doing our holiday sale. It's coming up in about 9 days. November 20th, I would say, actually. So just put it on your calendar. We're going to do 40% off site-wide, all the shit. We have new styles coming out. We just came out with this new, you're wearing a plaid shirt. This is called Buffalo Plaid. We did this whole campaign. It's, people like the plaid thing. It's like the Kurt Cobain, but we got it for your underwear. And people are really liking it.
Get the Run Your Mouth skull. I'll license it to you.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. Yeah, I mean, just know that you're supporting Sheath. You're supporting Robbie the Fire, comedy, people reaching for their goals and dreams.
The Sheath jet soon enough, my friend.
Yeah, this year's been funky. I'm actually going to the UFC Apex on Saturday, which is one of our last 8 UFC events for the year, maybe ever, who knows. But next year is going to be great. I'm really excited for 2025. We're very optimistic. Stay optimistic out there. I know it's been crazy with the economy and wars and natural disasters and the election and fucking all the shit, inflation, but keep a positive attitude, stay optimistic. We're gonna fucking kill 2025. It's gonna be awesome. The whole country is gonna be on fire. We're gonna not produce shit, but just get back to work and be your best selves. Be motivated and inspired and driven and obsessed and do something badass.
I like it, Robert. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to close out the show with a couple other clips from the election. And between now and the election, you can always between now and the sale, if you can't wait, you need your underwear, you don't have enough pairs of Sheath, you can use promo code RYM and get yourself 20% off Sheath the Underwear of Legends.
Thank you, Rob. Thank
Later,
you so
Mr.
much.
Bobby the Bank.
Bye, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Do it again
Peace.
soon.
Yes. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of clips to close out the show. These were some of these were making the rounds on social media. This one I actually caught live, and I was annoyed that I didn't have cable, that I couldn't more channel surf and hate watch everyone's news coverage. But my God, I was so fortunate to catch this moment live and to just slowly watch the souls of the little bit of humanity that these demons have as they're being caught with their pants down. You're running your Ponzi scheme, you're out there lying, and all of a sudden the investors start to find out, and the parade, it's over. It's starting to get rained on, and you start realizing, hey, we might not be able to get away with this any longer. And so they had been selling Kamala Harris hard, and so here you have... these people have to start contending with reality, and you could just hear the enthusiasm in Jake Tapper's voice as he finds out this information.
So you asked, are there any places that the vice president is overperforming Joe Biden in 2020? So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming in 2020.
Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
All right. And then this was, I enjoyed this. Donald Trump took an early victory lap. He was clearly winning. I could have told you before they counted a single vote. I'm pretty sure that this guy's winning unless they're rigging it. So for anyone in the know that they decided not to have 20 million corpses show up, could have told you he was winning it as well. But he did before formally, I don't know what happened that votes come in sooner, but they needed to declare elections later. Someone do the math on me for that as to what goes on, that you got more people voting sooner, but it used to be around midnight, 1 a.m. the thing was done. This year at 3 a.m. I woke up, I took a NyQuil. I was in bed early, but every time I woke up to take a leak, I just tuned in to see what was going on. And this was fun because although Donald Trump was clearly winning, he hadn't formally won. He still went out there to go, I'm a winner. I totally won. It's over. I won. And what was fun about that was it was just one more opportunity to poke at all the news organizations who then had to be there like, well, he's going to win, but he didn't win yet. And so here he is he's being a douche because it's funny because it aggravates you. Let's give it a watch.
But even if Trump doesn't win, the Defense Department and NASA are going to need a new arrangement for all their rockets.
Wrong clip, but this clip's funny as well. We can watch it.
And for all the multi-billion-dollar contracts Elon Musk's companies have with the U.S. government. The U.S. government is going to have to either, unwind from all of those contracts, or Elon Musk's.
I'm going to leave that one for another episode because I think it is interesting, but it's also interesting that government seems to only want to look into this relationship as regards Elon Musk, which I'm not saying isn't potentially a problematic relationship, but the media never seems to have this conversation. For example, Bill Gates with vaccines, or any pharmaceutical company, any of the revolving door of people that go from Wall Street to then working at the Treasury, or anyone that goes from Pfizer to the FDA to back to Pfizer. And then this last one, which I guess the clip I was referencing a second ago didn't exist, but we might as well close it out with Joe Scarborough being Joe Scarborough.
We still have an electorate, 70 million plus, that will be voting for a man who said he was going to assassinate for treason the chairman of the Joint Chiefs because he didn't support him on January the 6th, who said just in recent days he was going to execute Liz Cheney with a firing squad, 9 guns pointed and shooting at her face. A man who has said that he was going to shut down CBS because he didn't like how they edited an interview. A man who said he was going to be a dictator from day one. A man who said he was going to terminate the Constitution. A man who said he was going to use the army and he was going to use the National Guard on his political opponents. I literally could go on all day, and yet you talk to Trump voters and they'll go, he didn't say that. Wait, now I didn't hear him. And then you say, well, here's the quote, and then they'll go, yeah, he didn't mean that. So there's something for
the voters don't agree with my dramatic interpretations of Donald Trump's statements.
More long-lasting than just Donald Trump, the candidate. There is a sort of Russian embrace of disinformation, a radical devaluing of truth. over the last 9 to 10 years, and a complete ignorance on civics and what the term Madisonian democracy even means, what checks and balances even means.
Well, we'll call it there, but I'm guessing that it's going to be the end of this temper tantrum because no one wants to hear it anymore. It's not true. Our democracy is not going to be over. We have other problems to contend with, such as the debt, government spending, inflating bubbles, and, ongoing wars. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of problems. But it's none of the things that the media has been yelling and screaming about. And I think people are going to have had enough of it. That's the episode. Thank you for hanging out with us once again. Go check out my special, Robbie the Fire, all one word on YouTube. If you don't follow that channel, that's where you'll find all the stand-up comedy stuff, old sketches and otherwise. This weekend, I'm opening up for Dave Smith out in Poughkeepsie. And then on Sunday, we are in Philadelphia. Other than that, I'm going to be home a whole bunch. We're going to be doing some more podcasting, making some studio improvements. Thank you to our sponsors, YoKratom.com, home of the $6 kilo, and of course, SheathUnderwear.com, home of the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man, and Howie Dewie for stock picks. That's the episode. Have a good one. Thanks for joining.